First of all, I did a millinery course at the London College of Fashion, which is where I caught the bug and wanted to pursue it as a career. And I went to Paris and did a placement with the studio that makes hats for Hermes. They're called hat maker rather than a milliner, but it was a very good training. And while I was there, I wrote to lots of milliners in London because that's where the centre of millinery in the world is, and I got an interview with Stephen Jones. While I was there, I was taught to sew in a head ribbon in Paris, and they timed me. I had to do it in 20 minutes, which I did. And then when I went for my interview at Stephen Jones, they asked me to sew a head ribbon in, so it was just luck that I'd learnt how to do that, and then I did it in 19 minutes, I think, and so, you know, I was given the job because Stephen gets people writing to him all the time. So then I was offered the job, and I trained there for 4 years, and that's where I met Dan.
I studied three-dimensional design at Brighton Polytechnic, and part of the course we had a hat making project. So without actually knowing any techniques, we had to just come up with a way of making a hat. And when I finished that course, I realised that was perhaps the project that I liked most in my whole 3 years. So then I wrote to a few milliners whose work I really liked, and I liked Stephen Jones's catwalk show work, so I wrote to him. Very luckily got an apprenticeship and then worked there for a few years and got to know Sara.
I think Stephen I like because I like the humour that's in his hats, and that he uses a wide variety of materials, and he doesn't necessarily have a signature style, but he creates really witty, inventive hats. When we started out, we started doing fashion. We did a fashion show in Brazil, which was our first project.
For Brazil Fashion Week was really fantastic. We made probably about 50 hats, and they were all, there was such a variety.
Then we moved into film, television and theatre work, which is what we've been doing ever since.
When you feel that you're absolutely doing what you should, and working with Sara, we both seem to be in agreement about how things should look, so it's a very comfortable working partnership.
I teach the cocktail hat, so it's the one-day course. So at the end of the day, the student should be able to have a completed hat, which will be a blocked straw base with maybe some feathers or flowers, with a finished edge with wire in. I do flower making as well, so they learn how to make a flower instead of having to buy the expensive silk flowers. Dan's course?
Yes, I'll start off with blocking techniques with felt and straw, and then while that the thing that they've blocked is drying on the block, I'll go through all the wire stitches, finishing stitches, trim making, how to fit a hat, how to measure your head, how to make sure it's going to fit you, how to alter hats that you may already have, and then also how to make a small pillbox hat. So there's plenty to do while the blocked hat is drying, and then when it's dry we'll start working on the blocked hat and finish that properly, learning the techniques that we've done perhaps in the first day. So by the end of the 2-day course should have a finished blocked hat.
Well, potentially could have 3 hats because there'll be a flat pattern hat as well, the pillbox, a blocked hat in straw and a blocked hat in felt.
Yeah, so it should be fairly comprehensive, I hope.
And also the could block like a beret or fascinator, or a much larger shape, so they can choose, so it's not just limited to a traditional shaped hat.
Yes, it's all about learning the different techniques really that you can apply to both felt and straw. To tailor the course so people feel it's an achievable thing that they can then go on and do themselves. So we don't want it to be seen as being like an old-fashioned craft. We think of it as very much as a modern accessory.
I think so. I think you've got to decide what your market is going to be, which can be, you can decide to go down the fashion route, so you'd basically have to get things made in a factory and then add something, or you can make things more of a craft and go and do sort of accessories and go to all the craft fairs and things. I think it depends what sort of hats you want to make, really.
Yes, and also I would say when you're just learning, you need to make a lot of hats for yourself, just to get your techniques. Also as well, you need to be aware that people don't always want to pay a price that you might expect it should cost if you add in your time. Like, some hats can take a very long time to make, so I think you need to get really good at what you're doing before you think about starting your own business. To be honest, I would have to say a kettle.
Wow!
I know, it's very simple, but at some point you have to have steam.
Yeah. Well, for me it would be a poupée, which is the calico covered head that's got the nose shape and the chin shape, because you can use it for a huge variety of different styles.
Like,
they're quite hard to get hold of.
Yeah, they're more difficult. They're almost like, they're like a tailor's dummy, but the head, it's the head shape, with just a very blank face. They're really good for trimming as well, because you can pin your hat onto the poupée and then you can see exactly your proportions.
But
we do also have a poupée pattern.
We do have a pattern.
So you can learn to make one yourself, if you come on the course.